Yes. 'Interesting. 4 years ago, 4 years ago, I was in a position where I lost my job. I didn't have so many friends around me, and actually, the friends that I had acquired from my workplace were, what should I say? I thought were friends, but actually, I got to realize they were colleagues, so they couldn't help me either. So I was in a position whereby I was caught up. I was caught up in such a way that I lost my job. I didn't have a main source of income. I didn't have stability. In that case, I didn't even have where to stay at the moment. I remember I was staying with my cousin, and one day she came and told me, "You need to get out of my place." But I was like, I have nowhere to go. But to cut the long story short, I remember I got to meet someone, and the person was offering me a very beautiful offer whereby I couldn't resist. From that offer, I was able to maybe get food, I was able to get shelter, I was able to relax and feel like I was having a place to stay and I was having shelter, and what I would call safe refuge. To cut the long story short, still, I would say there I reached a time and I was staying under his roof. It's a he. Yes, it's a he. And that's where I want us to talk about. I was staying under his roof, but what seemed to be greener pastures for me later on faded. The greener pastures faded. I stayed there for too long, and the greener pastures just kept on fading away. And I reached a certain point. I asked myself, what are you still doing here? But I had the consolation that I was still there because there was still shelter, there was still food. But now they were all going away, they were fading away, and I needed to know why I was still there. So I had to pick up my bags, my mat, my everything, and I had to move. Hello everyone, my name is Shanita Shayla, and welcome to my channel, Blessings on Blessings. What I would say, blessings upon blessings. The Lord has been good. Just from the last post that I sent last time, which was talking about overwhelming joy, I pray that the Lord blesses you with this one too. Today I'm going to be talking about temporary places. Temporary places. As I began, I shared a lifetime story, something and a situation that happened to me in the year 2016, 2017. And I usually want to use experiences of things that I've gone through and how my life has moved. So with time, most cases I will share out of my own experience, and maybe if someone comes and shares, and that maybe we can pick up a lesson from there. So today I want to share out of that experience, and the topic today is going to come from the book of Ruth, chapter 1, verses 1 to verse 6, and I would like to use the King James Version in this case. It's a bit hard to read, but I believe we shall get there. I'll just go slowly by slowly. Okay, Ruth chapter 1 verses 1 to 6 goes on and says,
Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Beth-lehem-judah went to sojourn in the country of Moab, he and his wife and his 2 sons. And the name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi, and the name of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chilion, Ephrathites of Beth-lehem-judah. And they came into the country of Moab and continued there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left and her 2 sons. And they took them wives of the women of Moab. The name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other Ruth, and they dwelled there about 10 years. And Mahlon and Chilion died also, both of them, and the woman was left of her 2 sons and her husband. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab how that the Lord had visited his people in giving them bread.
So the topic today is temporary places. As I said, usually people want to use the book of Ruth for marriage, but today I'm not here to talk about marriage. Today I'm here to talk and explain something about temporary places, and it's going to be in relationship to the experience that I've had in my life before. 4 years ago, I was caught up in a place whereby I had lost everything, and when I lost everything, I had gotten into a new relationship with someone. in getting into the new relationship, this person was going to provide me with shelter, with food, with everything that I needed. And I told them I don't have where to stay. Well, I had where to stay. I would have gone back to my father's house, but I'd gotten used to the situation of having that independent life, and they offered me where to stay. So in this case, I went to sojourn at his place. I was supposed to stay there for a period of 1 or 2 months and leave, get my own place and stay at my own place, because in the first place I never wanted any idea of staying with a man or staying with anyone else. However, in this case, I went to the place that was supposed to be a temporal place, and I got so comfortable. And this is what I want to talk about today. When the family of Elimelech, but in this case, let me use Naomi because we all know about Naomi. The family of Naomi moved from Beth-lehem-judah to Moab. They were seeking a temporal visit. They were going to Moab for a temporal visit. They were going to Moab for a short time. They did not have to stay there for a long time. But later on, we realize they have stayed there for a long time. And in this case, I want to put it in my life situation. First of all, Bethlehem is the place that the Lord had given to the Israelites. Bethlehem is known as the house of bread. Bethlehem is known as the house of food. Bethlehem is known as the house of meat, the tent of meat. So in Bethlehem, everything was going to be provided for them. However, there was a time when famine hit the land. And the Lord said, when he was giving them the land, he had told them, if you obey me, if you follow my rules, if you follow my statutes, you will be able to receive daily. You will never lack, because I shall give you in plenty. I'm paraphrasing that. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 13 to 17. And the Lord told them that there will always be plenty. However, if they disobeyed the Lord, something would happen to them. So these were the times of Judges, and the people of Israel had committed so much sin. They had disobeyed the Lord several times, and famine hit the land. Famine hit the land of Bethlehem. So this family of Naomi moves away from Bethlehem, which is supposed to be their tent of food, and go to the land of Moab. And Moab is the place that I will consider a temporary place, because when you look at verses 1, it says, and now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled, that there was a famine in the land, which is the land of Bethlehem, and a certain man of Bethlehem went to sojourn in the country of Moab. The word sojourn means you are visiting temporary. You are going for a short time. You are a guest in that place. And now this is what I want to say. I was in a situation where I was receiving bread, I was receiving milk, I was receiving honey, I was receiving meat. But one day all these things came to an end. I lost my job, I lost my friends, I lost the people that were around me. I didn't have shelter. And that was famine to me. And here I am, I meet a man whom I'm in love with, whom I'm ready to settle down with. That's so I thought. But I didn't settle with him later on. You see me here. But I didn't settle. But this man offered me the food, the shelter, the bread that I needed. What I was receiving in Bethlehem was now being offered in Moab. And these things were attractive. My brothers, my sisters, beloved, I would like to tell you, Moab is a place that you are supposed to visit. If not, you shouldn't dare go there. Moab is just a place which is temporary. And this is the definition of Moab. Moab is a place that is in a desert, but it is green. The pastures are greener than in Bethlehem, because famine has hit Bethlehem. If famine has hit your Bethlehem, you think of settling in a place where you look at greener pastures. And I want to tell you, Moab is a place where it's in the middle of a desert. I would like to consider Moab to be the place that someone, if you use the carnal mind, you are going to be attracted to Moab. But when you go to Moab, it's supposed to be a visit. It's supposed to be a short stay. When this family moved from Bethlehem to Moab, they had gone to sojourn. They had gone to stay there temporary. They were not supposed to stay there for over 10 years. But we later read in the story that they stayed there for 10 years. You are not supposed to stay in Moab. You are not supposed to stay there for a long time. Moab should be a temporal visit for you. Do not get too comfortable in Moab. In this situation, when I went into this man's house, I realized there was food. I realized there was bread. I realized there was shelter. And I got so comfortable because everything was coming in such a way that I was not working for it. Well, that's what I assumed. I was not working for it. And I was so comfortable in that place to the point that I never considered anything around me. I never considered of going back to my Bethlehem. I never considered of the place I had come from, which had bread, which had milk, which had honey. But I looked at the temporary stay that I was having at that moment, and I became so comfortable. And beloved, this is where I'm going. You are not supposed to get comfortable in Moab. You are not supposed to get comfortable in a temporary place. Okay? I don't know if we are still together. Yes. But when I stayed in that Moab for a longer time, because when I went there, I told myself I'm going to come in your house for 2 months to seek refuge so that I can later get my job and move on. But I stayed in Moab. When I stayed in Moab, I started losing peace. Why was I losing peace? Because the man that I was seeing before I went to his place was becoming a totally different man. I was losing my peace of mind. I was losing that place where I could call him the so-called boyfriend or the man that I wanted to be with. Everything was falling apart. Everything was falling into pieces. And I was drained inside my heart. And that's what I mean. When you stay in Moab for too long, everything around Moab starts dying because Moab is just temporary to attract your eyes. The greener pastures that you sought start to dry up. When you get too comfortable in Moab, what you saw with your eyes start to disappear. Okay? So that's the place I was in. We have moved from places. We have moved from our Bethlehem and moved to places of Moab, not knowing that we are not supposed to move from Bethlehem. We have moved to places of Moab and become so comfortable. We have become so comfortable that we forget even the Lord that we serve. We forget that the Lord whom we serve, whom we used to serve in Bethlehem, is still the same God that is going to provide for you milk and honey. We have moved to a place of Moab, whereby we have covered our heads and we feel that everything is okay. But my brother, my sister, I'm telling you, everything is okay, but just for a moment. It's not going to be okay forever, because that's a temporary place. Moab is attractive to other eyes. Moab is attractive to the carnal mind. And things that are in Moab are not going to be permanent things. They're never permanent. So if you are feeling that love and that joy that you got from Moab, it later fades on. When you look at Ruth chapter 1, the husband to Naomi died. The sons had gotten themselves wives, but the sons also passed on. And Ruth was left with that emptiness within her. And in the long days ago, when you didn't have the male support, there's a way social life and the economic life would become so hard for you. So they are left in a house where there are only women. And in most cases, when it reaches to such a point, such women can end up doing prostitution. That was in the Bible in the days before. When you are widowed at such a young age. So they were left with that emptiness. Naomi was left with that emptiness because she had become so comfortable in Moab. My friends, you shouldn't be comfortable in Moab. Moab is just a place for you to visit. Moab is a temporary place. Do not get comfortable in temporary places. Okay? And I want to come to a conclusion and tell you that at any one moment, if the Lord has not told you to move from Bethlehem, do not move. There may be a famine in Bethlehem, but the Lord always comes through. The Lord always provides for his people. The Lord always stops that famine from lasting a longer time. Do not move from Bethlehem to Moab if you have not been told to do so. Beloved, where are you right now? Are you in Bethlehem? Are you in Moab? Are you in Bethlehem and there is a famine? Or are you in Moab and you are comfortable with it? Have you just gone for a short period to visit Moab? You need to move from that place. You are not supposed to be comfortable in Moab. At the end of the day, there is always going to be bread in Bethlehem. If the Lord did not tell you to move from Bethlehem, do not move from Bethlehem. If the Lord did not tell you to leave the place that He used to provide for you food from, do not move. Beloved, I was broken in the place of Moab. I don't want you to be broken in the place of Moab. So if you are hearing this message right now and you had visited Moab, move out of Moab. Pick up your bags, pick up your mat and move out of Moab. Go back to Bethlehem because the Lord has promised to meet you in Bethlehem. The Lord has promised to provide for you food in Bethlehem. The Lord always comes through for you in Bethlehem because Bethlehem is the tent of food. Bethlehem is the tent of meat. Bethlehem is the tent of milk and honey. It is the house of bread. Was there a famine in your Bethlehem? Go back to Bethlehem. Do not leave Bethlehem because there is famine. The Lord comes through for you at the end of the day. When we go on and read in chapters 1 of Ruth, you notice that the Lord came through for these people. The Lord came through for Bethlehem. Do not be comfortable in temporary places. They are called temporary places. That's not your place to be. If you have moved from Bethlehem, go back to Bethlehem. If you are in Moab, do not get comfortable. Pack up your bags, pack up your mat, and move back to Bethlehem because the Lord is going to visit you from Bethlehem. That's it that I had to share with you today. And I want to concentrate on chapter 1 of Ruth for the next series 2 so that we can talk about the visitation. When the Lord tells you to move from Bethlehem, you can move. But if He hasn't instructed you to move, stay in Bethlehem. There may be famine, but the famine is going to come to an end because the Lord finally visits the land. Okay? Once again, my name is Shanita Sheila, and thank you for watching this channel. Blessings on blessings, blessings upon blessings. The Lord is doing wondrous things in my life, and I pray that I get to bless you through the things He's doing in my life.